Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Wednesday program of the Fabulous Five from Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. Before we get into a program, we're going to do an opening prayer. So I invite you to join us, relax in your chair, on your bed, or in your lounge chair outside, however and wherever you're watching us, and take a deep, full, slow breath as we remind ourselves of the infinite presence of God, that in this prayer we do so to know that every word spoken and every idea shared reveals to us the deeper understanding of truth of our oneness with God. So we move into recognizing the oneness in all life and that we are one with it, powerfully, definitively, peacefully, and that all of that allness flows through this word, this time together, and every sharing that participates in this gathering. That every participant, whether they're a speaker or a listener, experiences a healing in their mind, body, and consciousness to more deeply understand, accept, and grasp the allness of God that shows up as love in their affairs, love in their body, love in their activities, peace in their affairs and peace in their activities, and overall well-being in all aspects of our lives. For this truth, for and about our time together, I give grateful, grateful, grateful thanks. Knowing the law has taken this instruction as this prayer and makes it so right here and right now. We let this be, and so we let it be, and so it is. Amen. Well, again, welcome and thank you for joining us. We always kind of put our space and our energy into this time together by answering a question. And today's question for us, and you're welcome to type in your responses too, for us is, what made you smile recently? And what made you smile recently? For me, it was really easy when I got up this morning and I looked at those mountains. So I'm a caregiver for my parents, as you've heard, and I got my mom up and situated and got her breakfast and did some other activities. And I just took off. I said, I'm going to go out driving and see where I can find a space to take a picture of the mountains. Now, by the time I'd done that, those gray clouds were in the way. So it wasn't as striking as it was, say, at 7 o'clock or 10 till. But I just stood there for a few minutes and just look at the majesty of that scene, even over treetops, housetops, and palm trees. It was just striking, and I just was like, So that was mine. Reverend Cheryl, what have you got to share about that? A smile on your face, besides.
I was just speaking to some of us before we started the program, and I did a Power of 8 this morning, and the person that was the receiver was, her word was her opulence in her thought. And just that thought of opulence, this beautiful spiritual immersion that we exist in, and the opulence of it, it just seemed to strike a chord with me, that sometimes I forget that we are entitled, I guess is the word, to all the opulence of the universe. But we just sometimes, I think that we forget about that. We forget that within ourselves, that we are spiritual beings and we are to experience the full opulence of life right here on earth in this moment. And so when I heard that thought, it just made me smile, because it made me feel so happy. And the spirit inside of me started jumping up and down for joy. But that's what made me smile today. And I'm going to turn it over now to Reverend Dale.
Good morning, everybody. I smile quite a lot because I think it's just such an expression of joy and gratitude to see how much goodness is in every single moment of every day. But for me, the most recent really fun fun big smile was a couple days ago. It really rained in our area. And I know those of you that live in other parts of the country think we're nuts, but rain is such a spectacular event in our valley because we don't get a lot of it. And it was a really big storm. And I had a moment where I had such a busy week last week. So I had some time this week for downtime. And it happened to be during when this storm was happening. And I snuggled up with my 2 kitties and I was watching Dr. Joe's show from a couple weeks ago. And it was just such a happy, warm place just to be feeling the energy of a storm and listening to the rain and having my little cats near me. And it was just such a snuggly, fun, lovely event. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Weather is making me smile lately, and kind of like what Reverend Brad was saying, it's such a celebration to see snow on our mountains and feel the coolness of the air, and just a whole new reality for us in the desert besides blazing hot sun. So that's my latest smile. And Reverend William, how about you? And you better tell them what you told us earlier. I'm charging you with that.
All right, fine. The question is, what brings a smile to your face lately? And every morning it's definitely my wife. I absolutely adore and love that woman. She's got my back even when I don't want her to have my back, and I have her back. With that said, yes, definitely the weather here. Living in the desert, to be able to wear a brawny shirt, nice, warm, is just a great experience. But also this, the other day, it was Monday, it actually hailed in Palm Desert. Haven't seen that in a long, long time. That definitely put a smile on my face and got the blood flowing. But I love the weather. I love the cold. I love the snow and everything like that. So that's definitely, there's so many reasons to have smiles on our faces, at least I know for myself. Now with that, I'd like to introduce Reverend Gail.
Thank you, Reverend William. And it was really fun for me to hear what causes my friends to smile. That's really been a fun experience. So my answer is my husband's recent virtual surprise birthday party. So although our family has been blessed in so many, many ways over the past year, my husband, Gary, was experiencing a lot of sadness after not being with any family members and very few friends during the holiday season, and just the void of being together with family and friends over the past year, such an extended time period. So for his birthday in January of this year, I organized a virtual birthday party. And it was complete with all of our extended family. So more than 35 were on the Zoom call. We played games, we had cake and ice cream, we had hats and noisemakers, and of course, we had candles. And the look on his face for me was priceless when he saw all of these well-wishing faces and heard all of his grandchildren saying their wishes for his birthday this year. Like, I think my favorite was, my wish is to have a sleepover at your house for 5 weeks. So seeing how much it meant to him that all of his family showed up with big smiling faces for his birthday really caused me to smile, and to smile really big. So all of our examples of things that bring a smile to our faces brings me to our topic today, which is belief versus expectation, a finer line than you might think. So I'm going to start us out with a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, and he said, "Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, we cannot be free." So I think he was talking about, in part there, expectations, that which we cling to in our hearts. So we're going to review expectations first. So this quote really speaks to me because it feels like almost universally that many of the challenges that I experience in life, if I'm being really honest with myself, are tied to clinging to my own expectations. Expectations of myself, expectations of others, expectations of situations, and also expectations for the world at large. So to be clear, some expectations are perfectly healthy and totally reasonable. So let me give you an example. It's reasonable to expect that the people that we love will not intentionally hurt us, or that they'll care when we share our feelings. And on the flip side, it might not be reasonable to expect people will show their care in specific ways, because we're all different. And you might say, well, so what? What's so concerning about holding on to a few expectations? Well, the truth is, expectations and holding on to them can cause harm to us internally. In fact, this is what the 12-step programs say about expectations. This is a quote: expectations are premeditated resentments. That's pretty powerful. But releasing expectations can alternatively accomplish just the opposite. I had a long-time client when I was in public accounting that grew younger every time I saw him. I had no idea how old he was, but from what he described, he had to have been in his mid-80s at least. And he was still actively engaged and working every single day in multiple companies. And not only was his appearance increasingly youthful, but I noticed that he navigated the complexities of his business life with great ease. When I asked him what his secret was, he said his answer was simple. It was easy. He said, no expectations. Simple as that. And he said what he'd figured out is that expectations can eat us up from the inside out. Expectations can lead to frustration and anger, disappointment and resentment. At the very least, harboring expectations can lead to some level of disappointment. So I seriously considered his advice, and I realized that the disappointment I often feel is entirely about my own expectations, what I expect others to do, or how I expect them to react. And I further realized that in holding on to expectations of myself or others, I'm directly blocking the flow of divine possibilities. Instead of thinking, this is the way it should be, I really need to be saying, how about this? Or something even better. Holding on to expectations for me is a lot like telling the universe not only what I want, but how it needs to be. And that's blocking the divine flow of infinite possibilities. Thich Nhat Hanh spoke to this innate divine flow really well. He said, life is precious as it is. All of the elements for your happiness are already here. There is no need to run, strive, fret, search, or struggle. Just let things be. And this quote really sums it up for me, because what I've also realized is that holding on to expectations is simply holding on to negative energy. Yes, I have to try very hard not to miss the lesson, if there is one there to learn. But then it's time for me to release the negative energy around any expectation I might have held. And I think more specifically, I've realized what a waste of precious life it is to hold on to negative energy. I don't want to be that person that holds a grudge. I don't want to carry anger or resentment around with me. I don't want to be the person that becomes bitter. So now I learn a lesson, if there is one to learn, but then I try to release the negative energy of expectations so it doesn't weigh me down. So if what I'm talking about here are expectations, then what is belief? What's the difference? And maybe what's the big deal? Well, although there's a fine line between the two concepts, the differences between the two are really immense. Let's explore a minute by comparing and contrasting belief versus expectation. Belief means you trust the universal process. Expectation means you trust the results. Belief means you know that the future is uncertain, but you also know the future is unfolding just as it needs to be. Expectation means that you are predetermining the future. Belief is an act of humility. Expectation can be an act of pride. Belief does not disappoint. Expectation often falls short. And belief acknowledges that the universe knows best. Expectation often indicates that only you know best. So I bet you're getting the picture from comparing and contrasting. So from these comparisons, as I wrap up this introduction, you might feel that I've been a little harsh on the concept of expectations. In reality, expectations can be a good thing if used properly. But how do I know the difference? Well, for me, harmful expectations are those that produce some level of entitlement. Wow, that's a powerful word. And as I pondered this word, I believe a sense of entitlement should not be in what's owed to me, which is truly the core of this word, entitlement, but rather in my belief of what I might give to others and what I can offer the world, my desire to use my unique gifts, and ultimately to show God a really good time. So with this introduction to belief versus expectation, who would like to weigh in?
I'd like to, when I saw this title and I saw the information that Reverend Gail had provided to us, I took a totally different tact, not in a bad way, but in a different way, and still touching on what she said. And I call it inappropriate expectations of other people just set you up at times for failure. And so when I think about expectations, well, that could be a very negative thing. But on the other hand, when I was looking through this thing called You from Ernest Holmes, and one of the things that he talks about is not expectations, but expectancy. And so for me, faith is the knowing, and expectancy or expecting is what you attract to you. So it's like the law of attraction to me. So what he said, expectancy speeds progress. Therefore, live in a continual state of expectancy. Now, the difference is not expectations, but expectancy, expecting your good to come to you, or expecting whatever your consciousness is, whatever your conscious thought is attracting that to you. So how many times have you said, I knew this was how it's going to turn out? Well, that was the expectancy that you put out there. And so no matter how much good you're experiencing today, expect greater good tomorrow. Expect to meet new friends. Expect to meet new and wonderful experiences. Try this expectancy, and you will soon discover a dramatic side to your work, which gives a full vent of constructive feelings. It makes life a game that is a joy to play. It enables you to enter into the spirit of things and people. So what I'm saying is, so when we talk about entitlement, it has a negative connotation, but if you really think about the bigger picture and us being spiritual beings, we are entirely entitled to the opulence of the universe, just like I just heard this morning, and that we are always putting out what we want to attract to ourselves, whether we're aware of it or not. So for me, expectancy is expecting my good to unfold in perfect divine right order. And like Reverend Gail said, it's not that I'm telling the universe how to drive this beautiful life that I'm living in this moment, but rather I'm just expecting good, always expecting good to come and appear in my life. So with somebody else, let's see who's going to go after me. Reverend Dale.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. I love this topic too, Reverend Gail. We were talking last night, and expectancy has been something very present to me right now. And something that I just teach to everybody is the concept of mindfulness and flexibility, because we've got these human things that get in the way or cause us to get into harmful energy, like Reverend Gail was speaking to regarding expectancy. And the cool thing is that we're always at a point where we can choose and do something differently. And so that's where mindfulness and flexibility come in for me. And so, in this world, for me personally, I can't help but sometimes fall into an unconscious expectancy, whether it's of myself, a friend, or the world at large. And so what I've come to do for myself that helps is I become clear when I'm having an unmet expectancy, and I just say to myself, whoa, okay, I expected that. It didn't happen. And who am I to expect things, the universe, people, circumstances to behave or manifest in the way that I think is right? Because what I know is there is a greater order of life that is always unfolding. So when I notice that I have had an expectation that was unmet, rather than getting angry or start saying that should have happened this way and why didn't it, getting into all that mess, I say, wait a minute, I'm going to be flexible now. And I'm going to take a step back and see that there is a greater intelligence working through everything. And so I just need to relax into that knowing. And then I let go of that hot energy and just move into a place of peace within myself. I am going to pass it over. I believe, Reverend William, you are next.
Well, thank you, Reverend Dale. Reverend Gail, what a fun topic that you picked out for us today. It's amazing how diverse one word can be. And I see what you're talking about, expectations, expecting someone or something outside of yourself to unfold in the way that you think that it needs to unfold, and how that is, having that expectation in that sense is a negative use of spirit, of power, of your mind, of your thoughts, of your time. But it's amazing that even Dr. Joe talks about live an expectant life. Not expectations, but expectant. Expect the universe is there for you, is waiting for you to call upon it, and it will manifest through law the desires of your heart. Now, he also talks about an example of, let's say you're looking for a house and you go house shopping and you find 123 Maple Street and you fall in love with that. And your expectation is that 123 Maple Street is your house. It's going to be your house. But by living an expectant life and allowing the universe to do what it does best, allow yourself just to know the feeling of what that new house would be. Because unbeknownst to you, 789 Maple Street may be the perfect house that you weren't even aware of to be conscious about. So yes, I agree with you, Reverend Gail. Living with expectation with others can definitely close you off from the flow of life. But having an expectant life, that life unfolds perfectly, that what you think about and what you desire in your heart of hearts is Spirit's design and purpose for you. And that's where belief also comes into play. The belief in knowing that the universe is at your beck and call, listening to every thought. That's important, every thought. However, with the belief and the weight of that thought pressed upon our conscious and subconscious, that's the manifestation that is created. But I like the idea of being aware of expectations and how they can be building a fence around your life. So I encourage you to take a look at the fence that you are building and dismantle it. And with that, I'd like to see what Reverend Bradley has to say about this subject.
Thanks, Reverend William. Powerful sharing, my fellow colleagues, Rich. I was very blessed, probably almost 20 years ago. My family and me as a parent, as a stay-at-home parent, we got introduced to a psychological concept called real love, taught by Greg Bear in his books. And I do love the quote in there, the description of expectation leads to failure. So even if it's, with a lover in bed next to me, if I expect them to be a certain way, why? Do I expect them to be a certain way so that I feel loved? Well, we sure don't want to go that way, right? Do I expect them to be a certain way to show they love me? Why do I even need them to behave a certain way so that I feel good? That's kind of how I morph the word expectation. Do I need you to be a certain way so that I feel happy, good about myself, or anything else along those lines? I don't think it's a fine line to be open at the top, meaning if I'm in an intimate relationship, right, we've agreed on some kind of guidelines for us to live together, be in relationship together, be in legal relationship together, etc. So I can see where we need to have some kind of expectations with regards to that level of relationship. And what if one of those partners goes outside that for some reason? Are we going to let it devastate us? Or are we going to be open and receptive to loving them when whatever they're doing, and how and in a space of loving, we can move to a place of how can I support them? But if we're all of a sudden, you shouldn't be doing that because I had expectations, you should do it another way, where's my finger? How can we be in a space of receptivity to the love for us, the love in the relationship, and the love of really being present to someone who, whether consciously or unconsciously, wouldn't go out of our expectations of our relationship, our agreements, unless there was something going on, right? There's something upset, physiological, psychological, biological going on that would lead them to possibly that kind of expression. And I always just want to be open to it. I remember a great example was not expecting my 2-year-old to behave a certain way. And as soon as I let go of my expectation that he's got to behave a certain way, I think behaving is a bizarre word to begin with, because what's behaving and misbehaving, and we never seem to use it for anybody under 6. So why can't we say you're adult or misbehaving, but you're just acting a certain way, right? So as long as I didn't expect him to behave a certain way, there was so much more release in my experience to be a better parent, because I didn't have expectations that he's got to behave a certain way. He's behaving how he is. And how can I love and guide him as the parent, the adult, particularly at the time of his life when he couldn't grasp how to do things? 2-year-olds can grasp one concept of life, and 7-year-olds can grasp a different concept of life. Well, they still need guidance along the way. So if I wasn't attached to he had to do things a certain way, then I had more energy to lovingly contribute to guiding him in a healthy, powerful way that he felt self-empowered and more responsible for his experience. Sorry, there's a doorbell in the background. So that's my 2 cents on expectation. And so, Reverend Cheryl, are you expecting to go next?
I was trying to hand it off to Reverend Gail so she could get in the mix, but I'll go next. But you know what I think about when I think of expectations of other people? First of all, I am painting them with my brush. I am expecting them to be what I think they should be. And when I let go of my expectations of others and just see how they unfold and how they present themselves in the world and stuff, it's totally fascinating to see all the beauty that my expectations had kept me from realizing, and just from seeing the beauty of every individual expressing God perfectly, just as they are. And so when I step back, though, from that feeling of expecting, like Brad said, that's a perfect thing. I mean, you didn't expect it from anyone except you expected things from your 2-year-old, but now we're adults and we start finding ourselves expecting things from other people that are not rational. We don't know their heart. We don't know what their experience is. We don't know where they're coming from. So all that I like to do now is, instead of sitting there and saying, well, I expect them to act like this, I just sit back and watch. And usually it just brings me joy to see the perfect being that is expressing right here in front of me, no matter how they're expressing, whether it's with upset or it's with love. It doesn't matter, because they are expressing exactly who they are. They're showing me who they are. And so instead of me just getting these, I call it inappropriate expectations that cause me to feel upset or angry because you're not doing what I want you to do. And how dare me even decide that that's something that's within my power? It's not. I just have to let go and just love them as they are, and just let them unfold their life in perfect divine right order. So now I'm handing this off to our beloved Reverend Gail.
Well, before Reverend Gail goes, we just have a question from a viewer, Pondering Newbie. And this is the question that they put forth. How does asking for what you want fit into this and in each way, beliefs versus expectation? Would you like to start us off, Reverend Gail, with that question?
Sure. So a couple things that I'm thinking about when I see that question. And for me, it comes back to our title today, Belief versus Expectation. So that means that belief and expectation are two very different things. And where I see, and just as background, what I see as belief and expectancy is very much the same. Whereas belief, expectancy, and expectation versus expectation are very different. So we can't have this positive expectancy without a belief behind it, right? It all starts with our faith, which draws into our belief and creates our belief. So that's where our expectancy comes from. We have that expectancy of this, abundant, we're living in an abundant universe. And that expectancy comes from the belief, our belief in truth. So I see someone has also asked a question about, couldn't we say that expectation is an idea we cling to versus belief being a deeper claim of the truth? And I think that's a beautiful question. I think that's exactly what I just said, just voiced in a different way. So again, we're tying together belief, which is just that deep, deep knowing of truth, versus expectation, which in many ways, when we really drill down and we're really honest about it, it is all about entitlement, something that we believe we are entitled to. As Reverend Brad said, that person, the example that he gave that's lying in the bed next to him, if he has an expectation, in some ways, he's thinking about what he believes should be happening for him. That is what a feeling of what's owed to us. So hopefully I've answered the question, but I'm sure that there are others that would like to jump in as well. And actually that was 2 questions, my cohorts.
Thank you, Reverend Gail. I love how you just kind of cleaned it all up, put it together. It's perfect, perfect. Something that came up to me while I was pondering these questions and listening to you, Reverend Gail, is I love the idea of expectancy, and I'm really glad it came forward with the difference between expectancy and expectation. And we talk a lot about in Science of Mind and our philosophy that we have the expectancy that whatever good we want to bring into our life is unfolding, is coming into this reality. And for me, I see the expectation as being the how of it all. How is it going to come into play? What is the arrangement of that? And to me, that's where I let go of the expectation. It's the how my good comes into my life. Not thinking it's going to come through that person or this circumstance. I just know it's unfolding, and I'm letting go of the expectation of how it arrives. And that keeps me in a real open state, a state where I can just allow the universe and that intelligence to bring forth this goodness that I am expecting in my life to come through its right and perfect way. And so I think that's kind of another way to kind of flesh this whole idea out about expectation versus expectancy. Reverend Cheryl, I'm passing it to you.
When Brad and each one of you have been speaking, thank you, my teachers, for giving me something new to think about. But if you really think about it, when you have an expectation of someone else, it's to fulfill a need within yourself, not for them to be in a better place. Maybe you expect them to do this because their life will be better from your point of view. But actually, expectations are our need to have something filled. And so when you step away from expectations from others, then you can get into that space of finding what you need within yourself and within your own life, where it's not other people that they add goodness to your life with their friendship, but it's not to make you whole or complete. It's just to make it better for you. So when you let go of expectations, you start fulfilling and taking responsibility for your own life. And you stop creating this feeling of not receiving what you need from someone because of that expectation. You fulfill the need within yourself. It's not coming from anyone else. It's strictly coming from within you. And that's what I believe this teaching is all about being responsible for your own life and for what you need out of life, and not expecting other people to fulfill that. Just finding yourself. And I think that was one of our questions here, is that why must we believe in ourselves before we can expect someone else to believe in us? So it all starts here, right here. This is where the ball stops. You have to fulfill your own expectations. You have to fulfill that expectancy that is out there, for the good and all that to be attracted to you without needing someone else to fulfill that for you. So I'm going to pass it on now to, who goes next?
I think it's Gail.
Thank you. I got lost in the chatter.
So because I've recognized, in particular, from going through this exercise and preparing for today, that a lot of the disappointment I feel in any of these situations is really entirely about my own expectations. So what have I done to counter this habit? I had to ask myself that. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to develop a practice and a true habit of gratitude in my life. And I think this will offset my tendency to set expectations. Because when I feel gratitude, true appreciation and joy for something, it's really hard for me to stay in that negative space. So gratitude instead helps me celebrate others. And it helps me celebrate myself too, because I set expectations for myself as well, for who they are and for who I am, instead of, vilifying them or myself for not being who I want them to be. So I can embrace the fact instead that we're all different, right? We're all beautifully different. We all make mistakes too, and we're all learning and growing. We all have our own little weird and wonderful ways of being in this world. And this is what having a human experience as a spiritual being is all about. And I can choose to really catch myself in setting expectations as I develop this awareness. And I can choose instead to judge less. It's a lot of judgment and expectation. I can choose to accept and to move on. And I can choose to let go of expectations and instead enjoy my life from the belief, from that true conviction that we're each traveling our own journey within a universe that is nothing but abundant. Anybody want to jump in?
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Gail, for that. I really love it. Seems like we're kind of starting to go into what one of my favorite fields of thought is consciousness, because this whole idea of expectation is yet another place for us to check out the landscape of our consciousness. And I think something our viewers might like to do, if you want to grow yourself and get in some self-discovery, for the next week, I would pay attention to where your expectations are located, where you're experiencing unexpected or unmet expectations, and do a little inner work around that. I think what Reverend Cheryl was alluding to, and I was so grateful to hear this as well, is this stuff that we become aware of in our lives that isn't serving us, that is harmful to us. It's leading us into deepening our spirituality and our understanding of who we are and the power that we have inside of ourselves as spiritual beings. These things that happen in life that bring us to a place of discouragement or disillusionment, they're actually a door is opening to seeing that beyond these expectations, there is such a universe. Like Reverend Gail just said, we live in an abundant universe, and it's not just abundance of stuff and things and energy. It's an abundance of ideas. It's an abundance of new opportunities, possibilities for us to live into. So when a door closes through an unexpected, I'm sorry, I keep saying it wrong, an unmet expectation, there's a door that's opening for us to see what can I change here? What other door is opening for me to walk through? Because the universe, it abhors a vacuum. So if something collapses, something else is going to come in to fulfill you. And I think that this is just really leading us to a place of self-empowerment, and just knowing that within ourselves are all the tools, is all of the energy of the universe, all the ideas that allow our lives to thrive and be abundant, so that when something lets us down, to shake it off and find a new place for us to move into receiving our good, or seeing life differently and expanding our consciousness. Who wants to follow me? I'm complete on my thought.
I think I'll jump in here. I know that we're on the bottom half of the hour. Yes, expectation versus belief. I think that through today's conversation that we've had, that having expectations is something that we have where we derive our good from something happening outside of ourselves. And as Reverend Gail and every one of us has talked about today, it's an inside job. And that's where faith and belief, having faith of in the universe, and a belief in the good of the universe, and coming from that, I think we've talked about changing from expectation to living that expectant life. When you base your life upon the inner power within yourself, getting the good, your happiness, your joy comes from within. When you realize that, then you can change expectation to the expectant life, that the universe has your back, even though you may be in a spot that you don't want to be in, that you want to have changed. The change comes from within. Change your thoughts, change your mind, change your life. And when you can do that, you automatically are living an expectant life. You're accepting everything that the universe is into your life, not trying to dictate how it comes into your life, how it unfolds, but just the knowingness that all of the universe is working upon your behalf and gives you exactly what you ask for. So when you can change your life from expectations, getting the happiness from something outside of yourself, to knowing that the happiness comes from within, and living life from that point of that expectant life, Happiness is automatically there. Like Reverend Dale said, the universe dislikes a vacuum. You release that, you've created space within yourself, and the universe fills it up. Now with that, I'd like to give it off to who's next. I lost track of that as well. We're always losing track of who's next.
So,
all right, Reverend Gail.
I think it's me, Reverend Gail. And I'm just going to jump in with a really short closing comment. As Reverend William said, we're getting to the end of our time together, and just kind of repeat what I said before. What I am finding is that if I let go of expectations and find something to be grateful for, and there always are amazing things to be grateful for, even when things don't turn out the way that maybe I had hoped, I will experience serenity, peace, joy as my life rather than ever experiencing resentment. So just as a closing statement, you know, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you are not in this world to live up to mine. When I think of it that way, for me, it is just very freeing, very releasing, and it brings me back to belief versus expectation. Reverend Cheryl, I think you wanted to jump in.
Yes, I did. The thing that, one of the questions that Gail had asked that really struck me on our agenda here today, it says, a life filled with expectations produces a life lived from a sense of entitlement. And so now, you know, entitlement has gotten a bad rap in a lot of ways. If you think about it, like if you're using entitlement as a weapon against somebody, I'm entitled, I'm more than you, or something like that, I see where that could be a negative connotation. But if you live your life from the belief and from the faith of knowing that Spirit is always, always got your back, then you do live from a sense of entitlement, because we are entitled to all the abundance and all of the good of the universe. And so, yes, I am being repetitious maybe, but maybe that point needs to stick and stay home with you, because we are entitled to the good. And what we also are entitled to whatever we expect that is bad. That is our entitlement. So where are you coming from? Where are you placing your entitlement? Is it in the good or is it in the negative? So let's just let go of that and just let that expectancy of good just fill your life and fill your spirit. It's ours for the asking. It's that simple. Anyway, thank you for letting me share. And I think we're going to go to our closing now. So Reverend Dale.
Great. Are you all complete before I do our close? Okay. You know, we brought up a lot of stuff today, and I just want to remind everybody out there that we have a huge prayer ministry that is filled with practitioners and ministers that can help you with anything that you want to explore within yourself. And I think we brought up some really deep stuff today with expectancy and expectation. So if you want to talk more with any of us about how you can apply these ideas and principles to your life, just contact our office and we will get connected with you, because we love to teach and we love to pray and we love to assist you in your evolution. So please know that we're here for you. So before we get into our closing, I want to remind everybody that your financial gifts allow our center to thrive and to continue doing what we do every week. We still have a functioning center, although it's all virtual right now. So your gifts allow us to pay people and to keep the lights on and to be able to give you all this wonderful spiritual nourishment all week long. You can see on the screen here places where you can contribute, you can send a check, you can drop it by the office, lots of ways to give. And let me tell you, we're so appreciative. You know, this whole pandemic has been uncertain for all of us, and we've made our best attempts to try and open, but we're doing what's best for everybody. So we want to continue being able to service you virtually until we get to come back together in physical form with each other. So thank you for all you're allowing us to do here. I want to tell you also about what's coming up on our calendar here. Beyond Limits. This is a wonderful class that our Reverend Charles is going to be teaching, and it starts on February 8th. And it's going to be a virtual class, obviously, and we've changed it a little bit to allow more people to come into the classroom, where it's a love offering. And if you are just wanting to grow yourself, whether you've been in Science of Mind for a very long time or you're a newbie, it's great. It teaches some of the basic principles, and I will tell you, so many people's lives have changed when they've taken this class. So if you want more information, you can go to our website, you can call the office. And I think Reverend Brad, you're a part of that, aren't you? You're the big teaching assistant for that. Is there anything you wanted to add about the class?
No, you can share a bit about the basic curriculum is what it is. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. And you're going to learn how to pray. You're going to learn some great spiritual principles. Tomorrow, Dr. Laura has her Higher View show, and I believe she has part 2 with Yolanda Nava, who is an amazing, amazing woman. She used to be a newscaster in Los Angeles in the, I think in the 70s and 80s, maybe even the 90s. And she has a remarkable story, and she's written books. So join Reverend Laura tomorrow, Dr. Laura tomorrow, and Yolanda. That's at 10 a.m. And Reverend, there's all these designations, Reverend, Doctor, Reverend Charles has his show on Friday. This is Life on Love, and his topic is things are made whole, which is a real interesting topic because we know the wholeness is already there. So it's all about revealing that. And I can't wait to see where he takes this topic. On Saturday, we have a meditation with one of our staff ministers. And to let you know, we've recorded new meditations for you guys, and they're even better than ever. So see I don't know what the schedule is, but somebody's meditation is coming this Saturday at 10 a.m. And just to let you know, all of our 10 a.m. offerings, including our services, our meditations, they're all on our YouTube channel. So you can pop over to YouTube and subscribe to us, and you can see everything that we've done. Every episode of the Fabulous Five, Dr. Joe, Reverend Dr. Laura, Reverend Charles, everything's there. And so if you're ever needing some nourishment and it's not 10 a.m., you can find it. Also, some of our regular stuff that's taking place. As we already talked about, our Power of 8 is Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And you heard Reverend Cheryl talk. I almost called you Dr. Cheryl. Perhaps that's in your future. Reverend Cheryl spoke to the Power of 8. It's an amazing spiritual practice. You can sign up through the website. Also, we've got the Social 8s, which that's brought to you by Reverend Cheryl and Reverend William, Thursdays at 5 p.m. And I hear it's so much fun. It's a light time to just get together. And I know they have some great questions that stir up really wonderful conversation. Also, I wanted to put a plug in for myself and for all of us. If you guys don't know, every Tuesday, one of us does a show right here on our website or YouTube. And so we all bring our own topics. And I think Reverend Brad just did meditation and prayer yesterday, and you can see that on YouTube. I'm going to be joined on next Tuesday with 2 people that are practitioner. One's a practitioner. One I think is going to be a minister today, Michael Kukuru. We're knowing that he's going to be licensed today. Anyways, they're going to be meeting with me next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we've all written books. And so we're going to talk about the creative urge and how to unleash your creative power. And we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about how we each did that through our books. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So be here next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And I think that's it. Anybody else? Did I miss anything, guys? We're good? All right. So on that note, since we are complete, I am going to go ahead and pray us into the rest of our day. So if you'd like to close your eyes and just join me in the energy and the consciousness of oneness. Oh, I'm so very grateful that we've had this beautiful, thorough, rich discussion about expectations and belief and expectancy, knowing that whatever is coming up for us to explore about that within ourselves, we are able to do so, something that allows us to unlock doors to walk through, to know who we are, to expand our consciousness, and to live in the gratitude and the joy of life that is always present, knowing that the universe is a good place, it's an abundant place, it's a rich place, it's a place that nourishes us, and all of our good, whatever form it's in, is always there, ready to come into reality for us. And so I bless everybody who joined us today, whether they're here at the time of this show or virtually at another time. I bless everybody, knowing that the goodness of life is so rich and wonderful. And when we recognize that, we bring more into this world by means of us. And so knowing that all is well and unfolding in its right and perfect way, just let go as we say together, and so it is.